Good afternoon, QA engineers, and those who are planning to become one soon. You've all used ChatGPT, or at least I hope you all did in the past. If not, today I'm going to show you how you can use ChatGPT in order to become a QA engineer from scratch, or to improve your existing skills. But before we jump into it, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Sergey Kromchenko. I'm a software QA engineer, lead manager, and a senior engineering manager of SDET in the past. But these days, I'm helping people like you to become a QA engineer from scratch or to improve your existing skills. Now, make sure to hit the big fat thumb up button below, subscribe to our channel, and also join our Instagram and Telegram communities, links to which you can find right here. Now, let's see how can ChatGPT teach us to become a QA engineer from scratch. First, we're going to start with manual, and in the second part of this video, we're going to improve our skills to become a test automation engineer. So first, imagine
that you are talking to a person that drove Uber for the last 5 years and did not have much interaction with computers except buying things online such as Amazon. And now you need to teach me to become a manual QA engineer. Give me a curriculum or a list of things I have to learn on my own in order or just to become QA.
All right, now let's see what we're going to get here. To help someone transition to non-technical background, blah, blah, blah. Understanding QA basics. Goal: learn what QA is and why is it important. What is quality assurance? The role of software QA engineers in the software development. Manual versus automation. Awesome. Resources: watch YouTube videos explaining QA concepts. Great. So looks like we've got some good base here. We've got a lot of questions, but how can you take it from here? What I would do, I would ask every single question this guy. I think he's still writing. It is still writing. So let him finish it. And then I think that should be enough. So I'm going to ask the next question now. So what is quality assurance? It's a systematic process designed to ensure that the products and services meet specified requirements and are free from defects. Now, let me quickly explain to you in a human language, unless it's already explained here. Purpose: ensure the software works as intended. That's what it is. That's what we needed. Meets user needs and maintains a high standard of quality throughout its life cycle. Great. Now you guys understand what QA is. Second of all, proactive approach. QA is about preventing defects rather than just finding them. This involves planning, documenting processes, and testing early in the development cycle. That also makes a lot of sense that we have to plan it. It's not about finding bugs, it's about preventing them. So we have to build some sort of the processes that will prevent bugs in the future. And that will definitely involve planning and documentation. So that is clear. Focus of area. Functionality. Does the software do what it's supposed to do? That's the main question that you guys need to understand whenever you're testing software. Does it work the way it's supposed to? Usability. It is easy to understand and intuitive for users. Performance, blah, blah, blah. So you guys got a really good idea about what QA is from this point. Now we can simply go back and you will see that ChatGPT can answer every single question in a very thorough way. So the first question that we asked about gave us like 20 lines or maybe 30 lines. Focus area: difference between QA and testing. By the way, this is very important. QA focuses on the processes of developing quality software. Testing involves executing the software to identify defects, pretty much testing it to find bugs. All right, now let's ask a second question. So what's the role of QA engineer in software development? And it will clearly specify it right here. Number one, you should understand the requirements, such as what the application should look like and how it's supposed to work. Those are called requirements, and usually you get them whenever you're working for a company. Test planning, test case design, test execution. There are a lot of topics that you guys will need to go through, and ChatGPT can simply answer all of your questions. It will take a while. It's not the easiest thing to do to have a conversation with a ChatGPT. But if you do want to become a QA engineer and if you want to save as much money as possible, I would start right from here. And also, if something is not too clear, you can ask, would you recommend any books or videos about basics of QA? And you can even specify your language in, for example, Chinese language or Spanish language. But here's a list of all of the books and videos that you guys should be learning if you would like to become a high-quality software QA engineer. All right, now let's ask a couple of more things, and then I will move on to test automation. So the very basics of software testing are bug reports. Can you please explain to me what is a bug report and how would it ideally look like? Let's see. A bug report. What is bug? Bug is an error in the application. That's pretty clear for everyone. And whenever we find it, we have to report it so developers could fix it. And the key components of a good bug report: title. It should be short, descriptive, summarizing the problem. Example, login button does not respond after clicking. So pretty much user cannot log in. Whenever you click, nothing happens. Steps to reproduce. A clear step-by-step description of how to replicate the issue. Example, open app, go to Chrome, navigate to your login page, enter valid credentials, blah, blah, blah. Right here, I would actually correct ChatGPT. I would specify the URL because for now, we don't understand which website even to go to. Whenever you're working for the company, most likely you're gonna know, but I would still specify just in case there are multiple applications, multiple pages, multiple login pages for some reason. Expected result. What you expected to happen versus what actually happened. Example, user is redirected to the dashboard. And the actual result, what actually did happen, as I mentioned. Nothing happens when the login button is clicked. Awesome. You also add environment details such as how did you find that issue, meaning which browser, which operation system you use, etc. Severity and priority, those are optional. Every single company might have a different thing used here. Some companies might use just severity, some companies might use just priority. But to quickly explain to you, severity is how impactful the issue is to the application. Priority answers the question, how urgent do we need to fix it? How fast does it have to get fixed? Attachments, I would say those are required because whenever you guys are filing issue, you have to let developers know how exactly it looks like because your explanation might not be too clear, but an image or a video preferably would do much better job. All right, and the bug status. Usually whenever you open it, it will be open, so you don't have to specify that. And here are some good examples. Login button does not respond after clicking, blah, blah, blah. So this is pretty much a copy-paste of what we had above, but clearly explained. And the second part, let's see, and the second bug report, actually it's not a bug report, it's a tips for writing good bug reports. Be concise but detailed. Avoid vague descriptions like it's not working. This is the worst, guys. If you are QA engineers, you're engineers. You cannot simply say it's not working. You have to specify what not working, how it's not working, what happens before, what do you do that it's not working, what were the steps before that. Provide exact steps to reproduce the issue. Use proper grammar and spelling, etc., etc., etc. Awesome. This is clear on bug reports. Now you guys know how to write them. Now, let me ask one more question before we move forward to test automation. How would you explain test case to a newbie and also provide example? Test case is a set of instructions or steps to describe how to test certain functionality of the website. For example, whenever you guys are joining a new company, you will need to go through all of the instructions on how to test the application, so you could learn it. So each of them specifies how to test certain thing of the functionality. Why are they important? Well, number one, it's an instruction so you wouldn't forget what to test exactly. It's a clear documentation for other testers and team members. Whenever you get onboarded, whenever you join a company, first thing you gotta do is go through the test cases or test documentation. Help identify bugs or issues early, absolutely. Ensure that fixes or updates don't break existing functionality. Regression testing, exactly. Structure of the test case. Number one, test case ID. In majority of the cases, you will not need to specify that. If you're using something like TestRail or Case.io or any other popular test case management systems, they will assign it automatically. Title or description, a short summary of what's being tested. Verify login functionality with valid credentials, or should login with valid credentials. Preconditions. User must have an active account. Pretty much, in order to log in, you guys have to have an account created, right? So that is a precondition. Steps to execute, step-by-step instruction on how to perform the test. Please make sure not to confuse it with the steps to reproduce, because steps to reproduce will reproduce an issue. Steps to execute or instruction is simply specifying how and what needs to be tested. You don't have actual result yet. Test data, if applicable. All of the values such as your username, such as URL for the login test that I was saying about in a bug report. Expected result. The expected outcome of the test. What actually are we expecting? And here's the thing. Actual result will not be a part of the test case before it's executed, only after you execute it. And majority of the test case management systems will not even have it. Because if there is a bug, you specify it in the bug report, not in the test case management system. But some of the test case management systems lately started adding it, so you could save the results of execution.
By the way, if you guys never did QA and you would like to try it on your own, I've created something completely almost free. For 20 bucks, you can study for an entire week and get an internship in a US-based startup with this guy right here. We start a new cohort every 2 weeks, so if you're interested, feel free to give it a shot and sign up by the following link right below this video. Let's continue.
Now, let's move forward and see example of a simple test case. Title, verify login functionality with valid credentials. Usually, when I write test cases, I use should naming. So, should login with valid credentials. Instead of saying verify functionality, we're pretty much saying two words for no reason. We can say should login with valid credentials, should log out, should register new user. It's much simpler and easier. And if you guys know coding patterns, there's something called KISS. Keep it stupid simple. All right, preconditions, here we go. You guys can read it on your own whenever you go through it. I will save time and move forward to the next part of our video. Okay, now tell me, what do I need in order to become a QA automation engineer? Let's use Cypress. Actually, let's use Playwright or Cypress, as they are the most trending technologies in test automation these days. All right, now let's see, how can you learn test automation on your own? So understand the fundamentals before diving into automation. Make sure you have a solid understanding of testing concepts. And that comes from the manual testing, guys. So this is actually an answer to the question, hey, Sergi, can I join test automation course without going through manual? Usually I say no, unless you have experience in manual testing or you took another manual testing course. But in majority of cases, people ask and they don't have any experience or they didn't go through the courses. So I tell them that, hey, first, you have to familiarize yourself with manual testing or go through a manual testing course first. Test design as well, and learning programming basics. Absolutely. And let me clearly specify what is actually needed here. First of all, data types, variable operators. Exactly. These are the basics. Loops and conditions. Absolutely. Those are the basics. Functions, arrays, and objects. Absolutely. ES6 features like arrow functions, promises, async await. You should preferably learn that as well. At the very basic level, guys, you can learn these things and then move forward to the next one. This will be challenging on its own, but you can learn all of that if you go to not Codify, but Codecademy, codecademy.com. You don't have to purchase a paid plan. You can learn it for free if you go to resources and pick the language. They have free lessons to learn basics of JavaScript. That'll be my recommendation. Then ES6 feature there will be more advanced, but you do have to know that. That's the next level. Debugging and error handling. That will be a next step. It's not as important as all of the first parts, but whenever you start writing the code, you will have to you will have to find a way to debug it. You will fail, you will have to find out why is it failing, and you'll have to fix it. So that'll be part of it. Basic knowledge of Node.js. Yes, you would have to learn Node.js. At the very base level, you learn JavaScript right here. And when it comes to ES6 features, functions, and sync-await, that comes from the Node.js. And in a few quick words, JavaScript is a part of the Node.js, so you do have to learn the language basics before you can jump into cool features of the Node.js itself. Free Code Camp. That's a good resource, but here's my advice. Start with the Code Academy. Because Free Code Camp is more advanced. It will take you from level to level very quickly. You will burn yourself out, I promise you, unless you have experience. So start with the Code Academy, learn it, then do Free Code Camp for a little bit, just a little piece of it multiple times. And then go very slowly, because it's very easy to burn yourself with the Free Code Camp one more time. Learning version control, Git, absolutely. Whenever you guys write the code, you have to be able to push that code from your computer to something like a Google Drive, which is called GitHub. And I'm actually shocked they didn't put a GitHub here. Yes, so you need to learn Git and GitHub. Git is pretty much a version control or a system that allows you to grab your code and push it to something that's called GitHub. Just like a Google Drive or a Pornhub for porn. Git and GitHub for porn. Pornhub is for porn. That's simple. All right, learning Playwright or Cypress. I would probably start with Cypress because that'll be a bit easier for majority of you guys. That's one of the easiest test automation frameworks in the world, in my honest opinion. There are some easier ones in Ruby, because Ruby language it's the easiest language in the world, but I would still stick to the Cypress and JavaScript as of now. In the near future, Playwright might take over as it's becoming more trendy than Cypress, but still, right at this moment, there are more jobs for Cypress compared to the Playwright. So that's why my recommendation is to stick to the Playwright. Reading official documentation helps a lot, but if you guys want to see the very basic setup, I would go to the YouTube. I would type in CodeMify, and actually CodeMify Cypress, and I would go through something like this video right here. It's a very simple setup for 12 minutes. And then if you want to see the difference between Cypress, Playwright, even WebDriver IO, that's sort of the more advanced video that I would recommend you guys to watch. But as of now, going through the documentation, I would put it as the second level. First level, go through video, because as a newbie, you will easier understand human interactions than just the text and the technical documentation. When you watch the video, when you understand the basics, then feel free to stick to Cypress docs. Cypress documentation is amazing, just FYI. Okay, core features to learn. Basic automation testing, writing and running test scripts. On the video and in Cypress documentation, you will learn all of that. Locating elements, absolutely, you will learn all of that. I do have a video about that as well on the YouTube. Type in CodeMify, CSS selectors, and then you will see that. Test structure, describe it. Look, absolutely, this will be a part of the Cypress documentation. They do explain it very well, and you do have to understand it. Assertions, absolutely. This is also a part of the Cypress documentation as well as the Playwright documentation. So you need to assert or verify. Whenever you click the button, you need to verify that something happened after you click it. So that's why you need an assertion. Browser interactions. These are definitely things that you do need to work with. Those are default APIs or commands from frameworks such as Cypress. And whenever you go through the documentation, and especially my video on the YouTube, you will see basics of those. And you can think of it as the words in a language, like in English. You're using words to make people do something. You're using words and phrases to share the stories. Same thing happens with the browser interactions. You are using commands to click, to navigate to pages, to click buttons, to forms. So you're gonna have to say something like site.click, and then you specify your ID here. We're gonna say hashtag, I don't know, login button. So this will click the login button on a page. This is just an example, FYI. All right, afterwards, test data management, using fixtures and a data-driven testing. You can absolutely do that. This is I would say it's a much more advanced concept. You don't necessarily have to get here if you want to get the base level test automation job, but when you're jumping further, you would have to go through those as well. We teach pretty much everything here in our course at the Comify Bootcamp. And let's see, advanced topics. I wouldn't call it advanced topic, honestly, because we're learning that on the week 8 of automation, which is week 3 of the Cypress. So I wouldn't call page object advanced thing, but at a certain level, it might look like advanced thing. I will not explain it right now. It's just a way to design your code. It's just a way to organize it. Test execution, that's pretty straightforward from documentation, reporting, and these are more advanced topics that you guys would have to learn if you want to be more of the advanced QA automation engineer. And here's something else, learning API testing. As the QA engineer, you do have to test things manually. But you don't have to learn Postman or Insomnia for manual testing, absolutely. For test automation, you guys can use Access Supertest, that's true. But we're talking about Cypress and Playwright. And Cypress does, and Playwright as well, they do have their own API clients. And if you guys do not know what API is, I would recommend you to go through the manual testing course first and then get back here. Because API is more of the advanced topic. But anyways, Cypress and Playwright both can do test automation of APIs for you. Continuous integration. In our course, we are teaching GitHub Actions, as this has become the world's most popular CI/CD system in the world, or continuous integration, continuous deployment, or delivery. That is more of the advanced topic. In a few words, the code that you write or the test automation that you write should run somewhere automatically, so you wouldn't have to worry about it on a daily basis. And GitHub Actions is the place where you can run it, in very simple words. Explore real-world projects, absolutely. If you guys want to become a QA automation engineer, you do have to get actual experience. You cannot simply go through the Udemy course and then get a job unless you have a website that you can work on, that you can apply your skills and someone to guide you. Then yeah, you can probably try to get a test automation job. But otherwise, you would need to get a real project or a job or an internship. And by the way, in our course, we do provide internship from the day one during the manual and test automation course. Practice debugging. Absolutely, very important, but I will not dig into it because you guys have to go through everything else before you understand debugging process. But in very simple words, it's a process of understanding why is the issue happening and what can you do about it. Learn soft skills. Well, ChatGPT, you're smart, but we're not talking about interview process. Although you're saying that, hey, learn soft skills, it will improve you, it will make you a better engineer if you have soft skills. If you will actually this is the first thing that you should have in order to pass an interview. So I guess it would definitely make sense to specify it here, but I would put it all the way up if we're talking about becoming a QA automation engineer. First of all, you have to be human, you have to have soft skills, you have to be able to communicate. That's the most important part. You cannot pass any interview without soft skills. Example, pathway of beginner, 6 to 9 months. Ooh, that's cool. 1 to 2 months, test basics, JavaScript, agreed. Playwright 3 to 4, agreed. Yeah, that's a lot of time. That's honestly a lot of time because our test automation course goes for 3.5 months. This is 9 months. But you can, if you spend as much energy and resources you spend on our course, you would become much better in 9 months compared to 3.5 months the way we do. Recommended tools, agree. VS Code would be the best. Node.js plus NPM, absolutely agree. Jira, agree. Mocha Awesome, Illumio Report, agree. Version control, Git, I also agree with that. Great, this should be way enough for you guys to get started. Let me know if you have any questions or you need any help.
If you got it here so far, you're doing great. If you want to continue learning QA on your own, no problem at all. But if you want to get a job, you're going to need multiple things. Number one, you're going to need actual QA experience, the real world startup experience. And secondly, and most importantly, interview preparation. If you guys do need help with that, or if you simply need a mentor, I'm running a QA bootcamp. It's called Comify, and if you need any help, feel free to find the link right below this video and schedule a free consultation with me.